Hey guys, it is Mark here again. This time I'm going to show you how to fill out some common notary forms like a will and a power of attorney, as well as a loose jurat, when you might need to use that. I'm also going to touch on ink colors, blue and black, and when you might need to use one or the other. Okay? All right, check it out. Okay, so we're going to go over how to do notarize some common forms. Now, typically I don't do a lot of this stuff. I typically try to focus on notaries marketing their business because I feel like that is probably where the biggest deficit is, and that's probably the most important. But I understand there's new notaries who are probably going to come across some of this stuff and be a little confused. So this is a standard Florida will and testament. Now right here, of course, I got blue and black pens. Typically with real estate closings and loan documents, you're going to use blue. A common exception to that is equity lines of credit. Equity lines of credit typically want black ink, but typically most of the other things, purchases and refis, are in blue ink, okay? Just an FYI, these types of things, you'll want to read them like if you're coming across to like VIN verifications and stuff like that, they'll say black ink only. If you're doing a wedding certificate, a marriage certificate, it's black ink only. Now this here, of course, this is the Sharpie S Gel, and I did a video on it before. This is one of my favorite pens. This baby slides across paper like Christy Yamaguchi on ice. So really nice pen, really good for doing stuff. It makes your clients are gonna love using these pens. You're gonna like using them. It just makes it for a more pleasant experience, which makes you look better ultimately. So this is a last will and testament. This is a Florida document. This isn't, when I say we prepare legal documents for high ticket, we don't use this cheap form. This is a cheap form that people download off the internet. But nevertheless, people are gonna come to you with these documents, and what they're gonna do is they're gonna have to fill them all in. They're gonna have to fill out, you know, their information on there. You wanna make sure these are all filled out, their beneficiaries and everything. You really don't wanna notarize a blank form. And then back here you have the testator's signature. This is where they would sign and print and date. And then the acknowledgement is going to be, well, this part's the witness. So here's the testimony affidavit that you'd be taking. So the witnesses would put in the date here, and then the witnesses would sign and put their address in. So on a Florida will, you need 2 witnesses. Now, typically a notary can be a second witness on things like deeds, but on a will, not so much the case. You could do it, but what would happen is if this will was ever contested, you'd have to go to the clerk of the court where that was and fill out like a testimony affidavit yourself in front of the clerk. And since you don't want to do that, you're better off telling them to find another witness. So in this spot here, you're simply going to put your state, Florida, and your county, which I'm in Volusia. Now, if this document was from another state, and let's say it was already pre-filled out, but you are in, you know, Florida and whatever county, and it was pre-filled out for another state, you would just line through that, initial it, and then write whatever state, you know, where you're at. So, and again, but I'm still in Florida, so it's still right. The same with any mistake. If there was any mistake on here, like a date or anything, so we were doing this today on April 20th, which is 4/20, you would just, so let's just say we put the 20th, but it was actually the 21st, we would line it, initial it, and then put the 21st, okay? So that's the right way to correct that. And then down here's your notary block. So of course you could put the date, the 20th day, and the county. And here you have to write in the testator's name and the 2 witnesses on this specific document. And there again, the witnesses are gonna sign again, the testator's gonna sign. After they sign, then you would put in your date, which is April and 22. And then your commission expiration date here, sign. Now all notary acts have to be done in front of the client, okay? You can't pre-notarize it. and you can't notarize it after the fact. You've got to do it right then and there. So, and this is one of my slim stamps that I carry. So this one's nice. You keep it in your pocket. I mean, I bring it to church because all the time at church people are hitting me up for notary. So it's nice to just have one in your pocket. And then of course I've got a big one. And then Grace has one. It's stuck in here. Grace has, she has a slim pocket one too as well. You can get these like on notary.net. That's where we get our bonding and our E&O insurance as well, because it's better priced than the NNA. But just another side note, and I'll put links for all that in the description. So, and then of course I would sign and seal this. Now this of course document, I'm going to destroy it because it did not happen. So there you go, there's a will. Here's a power of attorney, and this is the same thing. This is one of these kind of cheap boilerplates people get off the internet. They'll bring into you the same concept. They have to fill out all this information. These specific spots here are where they would initial certain powers that they're granting. And so your end, if you're not doing document preparation, is just to make sure it's all filled out. You know, make sure that they know what they're signing. They're signing of their own free will. And of course, you're going to verify the identification of this person, which is either personally known or produced an identification. So here they would sign and they would date. Same thing, witnesses with their address, and then we would do the same thing. We would put in Florida, Volusia, and this is actually the right format for Florida, physically present or online. So physically present on the 20th day of April 2023 by who the person was. In this case, her name was Margaret. But and then how did I know? Well, she had a Florida driver's license. That's how I knew who she was. Or, you know, the valid forms of ID, obviously a state ID, any other state's ID, and passport. Those are all valid forms of ID. Then I would sign it and commission expiration date. And then, of course, I would stamp it again. Now, if you had a misfire on your stamp, let's just say it was crooked or it didn't create a perfect impression, you could line that out, okay? And then refire it and make sure you got a good impression, okay? So that is that. This particular document has an acceptance of appointment by the attorney in fact. So in other words, they're appointing somebody to be their representative, and this is just the sheet where the representative would say, yeah, I accept this position. And of course, you'd have to ID them and then fill out the form the exact same way, okay? Let me show you a couple other things real quick. These are just apostille intake forms. I'm gonna skip past those. This is an invoice I use for title companies. When I invoice title companies for our fees, I have a template that I use. This is actually a PDF that's fillable, so you can fill it out, print it, mail it back with loan documents if you're doing those, or email it over to the title and escrow to build them. Now, if you want one of these fillable templates, I have them for free. I have a link and it's called Free Notary Resources. So if you go to that link and you enter, it's a subscribe, so you opt in, and then I will give you not only these free notary, this invoice template, but I give you some cheat sheets on loan documents. In other words, like what the common things are, what the explanation of common documents are that you can kind of grab and reference real quick. And I also give you this jurat as well, and I give you jurats that are generic for other states. And I also give you the common mistakes that are made with loan documents so that you can avoid those. So that's all just free stuff that I provide people. So this one's a Florida jurat, and this one you would use if you were turning in an apostille that needed to be notarized. You would include this jurat more often than not because the state of Florida wants a specific format they're looking for. And this you could also use if somebody was signing a piece of paper that wasn't notarized, but they wanted to take a sworn statement of it. Then you would do the same thing. Fill out this part. You'd fill out where you're at, physically present or online, the date, the name of the person you took the acknowledgement from. You would sign and print how you knew it was them. And this part's optional, but you can put the document. It was a POA, or it was, child custody, a number of pages, and then of course stamp it. And then that is that for the for that loose jurat. Interestingly enough, the National Notary Association sells this form for, I don't know, like $12 or something, and I just give them to people for free. So, all right, that is it for today. That's how you would perform some common notarizations.